Hey everyone, welcome back to Devlog, the official YouTube channel of Devolution magazine. I'm Jonny Bush, and today we have an absolute legend joining us, a man who has spent decades delivering horror-fueled rock and roll to the world. And this one's a special interview for me personally, because Wednesday 13 and I go back a few years now, being his primary illustrator. Uh, so our creative work started together sort of during lockdown, and that's when I sent in some fan art, never expecting a response. Fast forward to today, and we've worked on album covers, merchandise, tour posters, and even a comic book series. We've got Wednesday gearing up to unleash his brand new album, Mid Death Crisis, a record that's been described as a leave your brain at the door rager. There it is. And we'll be diving into the music, the visuals, and a little bit of the madness behind it. So let's get into it. Wednesday 13, welcome back. How's it going?
It's going. This is your artwork. This is
There
what
it
it looked.
is.
I think I sent you a picture of it, but you don't have the physical copy yet.
Nah.
Uh, but we'll try to get you an advance of it. But this is your latest uh layout job here. And I gotta say, this is the best one that I feel like we've done. Uh and it may be the best of the Wednesday 13 catalog as far as bang for your buck. You know, it's got all the stuff. We spend a lot of time going through this and uh yeah, I'm so happy with it. So thank you. Thank you
There it is.
for creating what's in my brain. And I don't know. I mean, we could if you want, we could start with this and go backwards if you want, since I'm already
Yeah,
holding this
sure.
up. We can talk about this, how we came up with this. Do you remember me texting you about this idea the first time, what we were talking about?
Absolutely. So,
I'm interviewing you.
yeah, exactly. The tables have been turned.
Yeah.
So, when we started working on the visuals for Mid Death Crisis, we kind of pulled visual influences from a lot of your past records. Um,
Mhm.
but were there any album covers, either of your own or from other artists, that directly influenced the final design?
I don't I don't think so. I think I just told you like kind of how what we I Frankenstein was you did a couple of different things, a couple of sketches, and they looked cool. They were super cool. I wonder what they would have looked like fully illustrated. Uh, but um, I remember I sent you the album cover. This was actually taken from the idea, yeah, was from that band Star that I told you about. And I sent you their album cover, and I wish I have it somewhere. I would go grab it and uh, but yeah, it was an album from like 1993 from Roadrunner Records that I had back in the day, and it had a picture of this dude holding a mirror, and was putting lipstick. It was a guy. You could tell it was a dude. He had like a 5 o'clock shadow, and he was putting lipstick on. And I was listening to that album backstage on the tour that we were on, and I looked at that cover, and we had the Frankenstein idea. We you maybe had just sent me a sketch, and I went, I don't know if that's it. I don't know if that's it. And then I looked at that picture of that album. I went, what if we put Frankenstein like in that same scenario with this dude holding a mirror? And you came back. I want to say you came back with a sketch. This was like early in the day. It was like 3 or 4 o'clock for me. And then I was about to go on stage, and you'd already sent me the rough version of this, and it was already like colored.
Yeah, yeah, it was
You sent me a sketch, and then you had colored it before I went on stage, and I was like, "Whoa!" And I was so happy because it finally, you know how I am now, like over,
yeah,
you know, I got a couple of sketches, like, all right, maybe do this, and then when we hit it, I'll go, "That's it, ding ding!" It's like hitting the jackpot. And when I saw that, it clicked, and I went, "That's the cover. That's got to be it." So, yeah, it was inspired by that band uh, which is ironic. They were on Roadrunner Records before Roadrunner became like a metal, or they were a metal. They were the only glam band on Roadrunner till Murder Dolls and the New York Dolls. So we're in the glam spirit. So that's kind of like a little nod to that. And I always like to do that with whether it's bands or movies, like the Necrophase album cover was a nod to like Fright Night, that album cover. So I'm doing a nod to a movie, or in this case, this is maybe the first time I did a nod to an album. So that's pretty cool too. I didn't really think about that till just now.
No, yeah, that was really cool. And it was nice to put that sort of dark, darker spin on things, and I think it turned out really cool. And it's
It was an addition too. Remember, I came back and I was, wasn't being too picky, but I went, what if you did my lip ring and my nose ring? And that way it's more like me, you
exactly
know.
there he
You know
is.
it's crazy because you did the all access laminates for us as well, and the image is a little different, and you can see the eye on the laminate, and it's so freaky. It's so
Yeah,
weird. I'm not used to seeing it, but I like it that it's kind of covered there. So maybe that image will come out eventually. People can see the eye.
that's it. Um, with the artwork in mind, we brought in quite a lot of imagery for the inside of the booklet from
Mhm.
previous sort of eras. So Gunfire 76, the
Yeah,
90210 album, Fang Bang. What made
yeah.
you want to incorporate those kind of images from the past into the artwork? Was it?
What you're speaking of is this kind of, and we call this. It's kind of funny because it's so cool to work with you because you know my history. So if I send you a picture and I say Transylvania, this is what you did, and you Transylvania the fuck out of that picture instantly. It's like it was a cool picture, and then now it's Transylvania. So with this, I think I said, can you gunfire 76 the layout? Because the layout for that record, I really liked it. I thought it was super cool how it just looked like something you would see in an old magazine from when I was a kid, like the back, like it was torn out and like ransom letter, which reminded me of the Sex Pistols and stuff. And it just sort of had that tattered punk rock type kind of thing. And this record had more of a rock and roll spirit to it. So I thought it'd be kind of cool to go back to that, but yet you put a darker spin on it. So it's not just a carbon copy of Gunfire um but that created the image for that. So it's sort of it gives it a look. It gives it a look between Transylvania and that Gunfire, if you're familiar with that. If not, you've just got some badass imagery.
Exactly, man. And with the inside layout there, a lot of bands like to keep the booklets fairly simple. So usually just like lyrics and a thank you page. But for Mid Death Crisis, you decided to go all in on the inside booklet with tons of pictures and throwbacks to the
Yeah.
old albums. Uh, what made you want to take the more visual approach with it and cram it full of pictures?
Well, there's a couple of reasons. I'm not sure if bands don't have a big album layout because they're not allowed to. Like in the past with different record companies and things, you were allotted a certain amount. Like maybe a newer band got a simple layout with it's a small thing, and then a more established band could have a more deluxe kind of layout. So with this label, I didn't know what they were going to tell me, what the options were. So when you did the initial artwork, you did like, was it 16 pages, I think?
Yeah, something like
16. And then I went back to my label guy and he was like, "Oh, well, you can do 24." And I went,
that.
"Serious? How many?" I say, "Is that how many more can we do?" And it became that kind of thing where so basically that was the limit, which I thought was insane. I went, "Really? A 24?" Because back in the day, that would have been like what they gave a bigger band. So we went with it, and instead of just using, I mean, there's 12 tracks on the record. One's a instrumental, so you can't. That's 24 pages at 11 lyrics. So I was like, let's just fill it full of pictures. And to some people, for me to have an album, like I grew up when I'd go buy albums as a teenager, I would buy a cassette or a CD and I would go home and I would put headphones on and I went through track by track and I read this and I read every little detail and I thought back to those days and thought, well, there could be someone out there that's still doing that. So let's just give them everything that I wanted in that. Sometimes when I would get those layouts, there wasn't enough pictures of the band because there was no internet. So I craved magazines to see my favorite band. So for anyone that can't get enough of us on the internet, you get it crammed full of us. So it's a lot of stuff. So I'm Transylvania, that picture.
Oh
So
yeah.
little nods here and there, and it's almost kind of Fang Bang too, with all the ransom letter stuff, which we did on the second album. So there's a little bit of the history sprinkled in there, and also giving the influence where the cover was inspired from. So I don't think I've ever been a stranger to putting my influences on my sleeve,
Yeah,
on my record sleeve.
that's it. And from working together, what do you think works so well between you and I? From me, from my perspective, it's being a long-term fan and kind of knowing the ins and outs, and
Yeah,
our taste the same. But what do you feel works
that
well?
is that's 100% what it is. I mean, like when we met during COVID, like I think I want to say Calabrese sent me the image that you
Oh shit!
had. That's how I found out through them. And then I think so I believe that's how I first heard of you was through them. And then during COVID, we had all the time in the world to get creative, and my brain just exploded like these toys in here. Let's do this, and we went to work. And but the greatest thing is not only do you have an imagination to create something like we did during COVID, which was all the weird Wednesday's World stuff. That was just imagination. It wasn't
Right.
really drawing on the necessarily music stuff. But that's where you're the special at this because you know my history from the very beginning of all this. So I can talk to you without having to explain to someone else, like, hey, so my first album, Google,
Yeah.
here's all these images. So I want to go for something like that. Like I don't have to explain that to you. I literally can use small talk and go, man, I just need you to Transylvania this, or you know what? Let's fang bang this. I don't know. I'm thinking more gunfire. I don't know. This is a little more Monsters of the Universe. Let's do that. And then uh anything like that is this it's just and you know exactly what I'm talking about, and you will
Yeah.
100% of the time, you will always take my ideas and do them always like that little extra mile better than I had it in my brain. Like it's crazy, like how you will get like perfect on some stuff, and it's because you know the history of what I do. So that is a huge help, and I don't know that every artist and band out there has that luxury. So thank you, sir, for all you do. You literally bring it's important. Like it's an important part of the puzzle as much as me giving my music to the right mixer. You go, man, I need it to sound like this because that's what I hear in my head. If you don't do that right, I don't like it. And the same thing with this. If I don't like it, I'm not gonna. So it's an important part of this, and I'm glad that we get to create and just go beyond that. And speaking of the artwork when the third video, which is the song "No Apologies," we filmed it on green screen. So what I'm hoping to do, and we've already discussed a little bit about this, but
Right.
you're going a lot of this imagery that's in this, like going on behind it, is going to look like that. Is what I want the imagery. So we get to bring your artwork for the first time into our music video, which is going to be awesome. So I've already filmed all this stuff, and I was just looking at this again. I'm like, we get to kind of bring that into that. So I thought it was a really cool way because that single comes out the day before the album comes out, and what better way to make it come to life than to do that? Uh, so yeah, that's another cool thing. I don't know if you've thought about that, but yeah, that's the first music video thing that I think that we've done. We did Wednesday's World where you created the little weird characters and stuff,
Yeah,
Tiger and all that stuff. But this will be the first thing like that. So I'm excited to see that because if we can make the video look like that, how cool will that be? In my mind,
exactly.
that's perfect.
That's it, man. So with artwork, how do you approach album artwork differently to what you kind of approve for merchandise? Like, is there a certain thing that you know fans will respond well to for merch? You know, what does well? What do they want to see? Because we kind of bounce back and forth on ideas.
Right.
So, do they? Do you know what they're after? And also, do you like to keep that same style of merchandise for a certain tour? So it's almost like a stamp in time that people can
Mhm.
recognize.
I've done that in the past. I've done different color themes and steered away from the red and black stuff a couple of times. Where we went to the Monsters of the Universe uh, was the alien phase, and everything was kind of going in that imagery. And then Necrophase was all green, was all the necro green and all that type of stuff. But looking back on like after when COVID hit, I had time to look at stuff and stop the boat for a minute and look back and go, all right, what are you doing here? What have you put out? Take a look at it. Let's I had time to look at that stuff and I got to create to get my own perspective on it. And then I also, because of the internet, everyone will let you know what they think. I was able to hear what they thought about it, and collectively, the red and black imagery never fails. It
Yeah,
never fails. So when we create imagery, when I tell you like, hey, this is the idea I'm going for, and you'll send me ideas back, I'm like, yeah, you got it. Because we know, like for example, this could be a cool t-shirt, but it may be a little too busy. It may be a little
sure.
too colorful for what I do at my merch stand. We may do something a little like like what we did. We didn't do this for merchandise yet for the t-shirts. So yeah, the merch has a definite look to it, but it's became its own thing too. Like
Yeah,
you've even found yourself going, we go, oh, well, let's maybe we do a design more like, and I'll show you an old design you did. And you
yeah,
go, okay, I'll go Transylvania, Transylvania. So it's just, yeah, we're using ideas. It's just a recycling thing, but I think we know, or at least I know now where I want to keep the imagery and the color scheme. I think over time, and most artists have done that. Like at least the ones that I've looked up to and know a lot about their career. Like Alice Cooper has been my hero to do this whole thing. And I started off trying to imitate his voice and the music and I did that pretty good, but I didn't really think about his career and doing all the different changes and stuff that he did. And Alice Cooper went through so many changes from his original conception to going experimenting with industrial stuff and it's almost like my whole thing just did his whole thing. But I think when he looks back where he is now, he went, that was cool. I did that, but I think I'm the rock and roll Alice Cooper. I'm going to stick with what I know. And he's just sort of kept that going for a while now. And I think over time, I've realized the red and black thing, that's my thing, that's my look, the sound, everything. Have I know more
yeah.
where I want it to I don't see too much more experimentation as far as, hey, let's go for a new logo and the colors are blue now, blue and yellow. I don't think that's going to happen. So but yeah, it just takes time and perspective of just basically it just takes time to look back over it and go, where do you want to go now? And it's funny because as time passes, it's like you're moving forward, but you're now here we are chasing the past, going, let's Transylvania this.
That's it.
Uh, but that's where it started, and that feels like that's where it feels home.
Good. It's like, so the red and black's working. You've kind of, like you're saying, you're honing down on that imagery and the sounds, and it kind of comes through quite a lot in the new music video for the new single "When the Devil Commands." Um,
Mhm.
that all kind of feels summed up with that. Was there any unexpected behind the scenes stuff when you were filming that inside the church? Because I know when you filmed the second singles video in Misery, that a fire broke out nearby.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we did videos back to back. Some bands will do that just because, just to get everyone and crew all in the one spot. It's just better to get as much done as you can. So we did two videos kind of back to back. So one day we did The Devil Commands, filmed that on location at a church that it's not an active church for service or anything. That would have been cooler, but it wasn't. But that day was great. We everything worked perfectly, and then the following day we did the In Misery video. And when you said imagery going into what we're talking about, that video was night and day, literally, no pun intended. Like, and I already sent you the video. You saw it recently, or you just saw it overnight. It's I purposely did it where it would be a completely different color scheme. It goes from red and black to like graveyard blue, where I just said blue, but it's literally it's just the lighting. You'll see it still it fits. It works. Um but yeah, that was I and that whole idea with that color scheme came from the photos because we did the photos um like this picture particularly. We had the red and black and we had a lot of pictures of that we liked. But there was a couple that we did that had this color scheme with the blue,
Great
the
picture, yeah.
dark color. So when we were discussing the video idea and I was going visual wise, because I don't like when bands, I know a lot of bands do what we do. They got to do it back to back and their videos look like the same video. Like, hey, did you know that the
Yeah.
same video? They didn't want it to look like that. So it was important. So I literally used these pictures and this imagery and I said, hey, so Devil Commands is red and black. That's these. We're going to go for that look. Red and black. That's Devil Commands. So in Misery, it's a darker song. We're gonna go for this color, and that became what we said as the template for the colors. I'm not even sure if I answered your question that you originally asked, and I went there, but yeah, that's how that visual thing came about with everything. So it all ties in together. People don't realize that.
That's it. And kind of coming back to touring, tour merch, you've recently finished up your run with the Performing Murder Dolls tour, and you've
Mhm.
been been touring pretty extensively and continue to do so. What was the response like from the Murder Dolls theme shows?
It was. I mean, you were at several of them, right?
Yeah,
It was great. I mean, it was a very eye-opening experience. I mean, I knew people liked Murder Dolls, but to go out and see that tour and just actually you could see it, you could feel it with the audience. You're just like, and in certain places, some more than others. The UK was the home like for Murder Dolls. So the London show and the Nottingham Rock City show, there was a magic there with that crowd, and it was just like, um, so just to have people at the shows that I meet at the meet and greets, or just people talking about this thing and just going, that was my teenage years. You were my childhood. You were my youth. That music will forever be that soundtrack. And I don't ever think I realized that till I knew it, but I didn't really just, it was every day. This is my youth. And I'm like, wow, and then these people are bringing their children to the shows and they're up front and they're singing the songs
yeah,
and their parents are in the back now. And it's just like, wow, I didn't think I would get out of my 20s. And
yeah.
and here I am approaching the mid-death crisis of turning 50. Um, I see that the music is timeless. So it was very rewarding to do those songs. Unfortunately, uh, I've got so many songs in my catalog and so much Murder Doll stuff. I can't play everything, but I've been able to make our tour set into a best of Murder Dolls where you get like a little mini set of that. And then you get a Transylvania Celebration, and then you get a few songs off the new album right now. So I think I did this set list that we're working on justice. I think the fans will dig it, and just by rehearsal so far, it's fun to play these songs again. I haven't played them in a really long time, um, and they sound the best they've ever sounded. So it's exciting for us, and I can't wait for the fans to hear it.
That's good. So a lot of the old Murder Dolls things, and especially your kind of older catalog, is
Mhm.
very kind of campy, tongue in cheek, and a lot of that comes through again now in Mid Death Crisis, um, but it's kind of like mixed with those darker, sinister rock tracks. Um,
Mhm.
how does the new record reflect where you are personally and artistically at this point in your life?
Well, it's a perfect transition. What I was just saying, how doing this Murder Dolls tour, I was able to talk to people and hear what they what they think about the music. And one thing that I saw almost every day, and I think when my lady came out and she was with me, and we saw one fan. We were just out walking through London before the show, and there was a fan that had the safety pin tie and
Nice.
the cut off gloves, just in the middle of just a bunch of other people. And there's so much stuff, traffic in London, you know. And she goes, "I wonder who they're there here to see." And I was like, "Yeah." And then she goes, "Well, you definitely know your fans." And I think just then, like a bomb went off in my head, and I went, "It's true. Like that's my look. I've seen that for 20 years. When people think of Wednesday 13, it's that hat, it's that tie, it's I created a look, like an image, and all these years I'm experimenting doing these masks and stuff. I kind of got away from it, but that is my image. Whether I try to get away from it or what, that is what people know, and I'm like, embrace it, do it more, become it, do it, put it back on, and make it better than you did it 20 years ago or whatever. So that's why it's a kind of a turn back to that, because I was able to see it in a different light, and I realized that that's my image, and I just embrace it more now, instead of
Nice.
trying to, you know what, I want to experiment and try this. Now I'm a robot. I'm robo weds now. Oh
um,
no.
so coming back to when you saw the fan, did you ever think that you'd get to this point in your career, like where from the moment you said to yourself, "I'm going to start a band," did you think at some point in the future you'll be walking down a street in London, you know, sold out shows, and there's like kids wearing things you used to
No.
wear?
I don't even think I thought about it that far. The dream was to get on stage. I don't think I ever really thought about what came with it. And but to see that, and particularly that fan I saw, I started following her on Instagram, because I was like, you made me think, about what I've done. It was like just seeing this little mirage of you going, "Hey, appreciate your life." Whoa. It was a cool thing. So but no, I never thought that. Like, again, dude, I didn't think I'd be turning 50 next year. It's insane, you know.
Yeah.
I wanted to live fast, die young, rock and roll lifestyle, and I thought that's what it would be. And I tried my hardest to do that, and I almost succeeded.
Nice. And can you remember your first show that you ever played, however small it was?
Yes, my very first show was at my high school. We were able to play in the auditorium after school. They let us do it, and there was like 15 people that stayed after school to watch us, and I was so nervous, and I think I just stayed in front of my amp, uh and I watched a video of it, and I remember I told myself, if you ever get on stage again, don't do that. And the next video of me, it looks like I'm being shaken by ghost. Like, just like my head is just like it's just, yeah, I went off, and I kind of I've been the drill sergeant in my head for my whole life, and I kick my own ass and I watch myself. So yeah, so I made myself better from those things.
Awesome, man. So our last question today, and this for our in-house devolution question. It's going to help create a devolution Spotify playlist at the end of the year. If you had to pick one song from your own catalog or just a song that you love that had to be included on the national curriculum that
Mhm.
like, every kid had to hear before they turned 18, what would it
Oh,
be and why?
instantly. I love to say fuck. That is my hit song. Whether it was never a radio hit, it works. It has worked since the beginning. It was the one song, maybe I think Rambo was the first one I realized, hey, I got people's attention with the stupidity of it. And I Love to Say Fuck was just a home run, and it works everywhere around the world. If we're playing in front of Guns N' Roses or Iron Maiden and the audience hates our guts, uh, you can pull that song out and be a winner for 5 seconds, for 5 minutes, however long we drag it out. But that would be my song that I'm most proud of it. And yeah, it served the test of time. So I think every kid should hear it before they turn 10. Let's just say
That's
that.
it.
Or 12.
So that's all we've got time for today. So
Oh,
I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to come and sit down and talk to me. It's
yeah.
been great having a little chat. And just before we go, for people who want more exclusive Wednesday 13 behind the scenes content, you've
Mhm.
got a new Patreon, well, a revamped Patreon up and running, and a VIP Instagram membership.
Mhm.
What can fans expect if they sign up?
Well, you helped put that together too. It's just my Patreon's a little different than what I was doing during COVID. I didn't make it too extravagant. I didn't make it too expensive. Just a lots of behind the stuff. There's a tier where you can watch stuff on my private Vimeo channel where I upload old content and newer content, which will feature some the making of the record, which is coming out. And the Instagram subscribe thing is something new I started doing, which has turned out pretty cool. I have like a whole little community of fans that chat on a channel there called Channel 13, which is pretty fun to pop in and out of every day. And so yeah, it's just another way to interact with people in this ever-changing landscape of and so but I'm having fun with it and yeah, so check it out.
Thank you so much. See you
All
next
right.
time.
Thank you.